بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين ألف لام ميم.
إلهي عظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء أضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقه فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب. يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران. يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجاب العجاب العجاب. يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيع نفوسنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hajj, one of the obligations of every Muslim who has attained the required age and who has the financial means of going. Hajj is a fundamental within the Islamic religion and something that everyone should look forward to once the time has come, and obviously if we have been invited as guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to attend the Holy House. Today's discussion is based around Hajj, some of the experiences that have taken place, and obviously someone who is very dear to the heart, a friend of many people out there and many people watching, Hajj Mufid Mahdi. Hajj, Assalamu alaikum. Hajj, we're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me on, Habib.
Thank you very much, Hajj. So the questions today are very interesting. Inshallah, you can tune in throughout the whole entire episode, and inshallah, many stories that you may have heard in the past and things that you may have thought, is this right? Is that not right? Does this actually happen? Inshallah, the Hajj will confirm everything for us, as he has been doing such things for over 20 years. So if anyone has the answers to our questions, it's definitely our guest today. Hajj, if you'd like to begin with your intro, and then inshallah we can move straight in from there.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم فالله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. Basically, when the topic Hajj comes about every year, people talk about it that are going to their friends, their families. And you get some supporters and you get some people that say, you know, why are you doing it? You're too young. And you get other people that say, I'm not ready yet. The thing is, it's not about if you're ready or not. It's if you're fortunate to actually have that invitation in the first place. I believe that, and based on our narrations, that it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses who goes. That does not mean that if they go, they're angels or something, but they have the opportunity to become angels by having that invitation. So first, people that are fortunate enough usually that attend different centers, Islamic centers, as the season and the fever comes, like when people watch soccer or footy, there's the season starts and people start to talk about it. Hajj, in a way, similar, but amongst certain communities, the ones that actually do attend centers and mosques. So that word comes up, and then you start taking it seriously. You know, who goes, and then you realize if you're obliged to go or not based on the questions that you ask, if you're capable financially and you're able to leave. But people always look at the conditions if they want to go. The thing is, it's not about looking for conditions. The thing is, the same way you pray, the same way you go to work, it's a necessity, and not only a necessity to go to Hajj. There's a lot of benefits of going to Hajj that if we knew and we read and understood, you wouldn't want to miss it for the world. But because of the lack of understanding, you wait for people to sway you either to go or not to go. Once you make that decision, the first thing you need to do is psychologically prepare yourself to go. It's not a matter of just physically going. You need to know why I'm going. What am I going to do there? What kind of a lesson am I going to get out of going to Hajj? So when you come back, you keep it. You don't mess it up. And knowing from my experience, I mess it up every year and I want to go again. So, but this year I was unfortunate and I couldn't make it, and I actually feel it. I really feel it. And unless you go and have that feeling, you would not understand what I'm on about. However, because it's an obligatory action, a lot of lessons to be learned, a lot of reflection, a lot of changes in your life, in your environment, in your social environment, your friends. So many things need to be changed. And this lesson is not a one-day lesson. it actually starts from the day you make the decision to go. You start to make research, you start to talk to people that have been there before. You come and see group leaders, they explain it to you. And then that lesson is extended while you're in Hajj for about 3 weeks. And these 3 weeks will make you, it'll take you to your breaking point. But if you've prepared yourself mentally, you know what to expect, and you turn the weaknesses into opportunities in Hajj. And all I need to tell you is, if you want to know how important Hajj is, just when Shahr Ramadan comes, listen to the du'as they read, and then find out what happens in those du'a and how many times they mention Hajj. Then you realize there's a hidden treasure in those supplications that we overlook because we haven't intended to go to Hajj, so we don't. It doesn't flag every time you hear the word Hajj. But because we've been going to Hajj, every time I hear the word Hajj, I look. So much that now every time I see a person, I call them Hajj, whether they've been to Hajj or not. Basically, I'm talking about that's when you intend to go to Hajj, and then the process of going to Hajj, and from my side, the process of organizing and dealing with all walks of life in going to Hajj, that's also another angle. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the Hajj this year, and to grant everyone that's listening. And I think and I pray for everyone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the opportunity, because unless you go there and experiment it yourself, you would not know what I'm talking about. But it's something that I really feel I've missed out this year, and it hurts to think about it. So inshallah, may Allah grant us and yourselves, inshallah.
Ahsant, Hajj.
Well,
Hajj, so we'll get straight into the questions. As you mentioned just then, the topic of group leaders. So obviously there's a lot of groups out there that have developed over the years. But obviously these groups are either managed by 1, 2 or 3 people. So obviously people like yourselves are kind of unique and very rare to come across, because there's only so many of you out there that are guiding people through the process of this obligation. So the first question we have for you is, when did you begin taking people to Hajj, and what inspired you to take such a step?
well, the first thing is, the first time I went to Hajj, because it was obligatory, and it was a very tough Hajj. Probably the toughest I've been through, even after the years that I've been, because we used to do it the old way, where we go in the buses that don't have roofs, and it was in the cold, and so it was very hard. But the first time I actually went, after I've done Hajj, I didn't like it, I'll be honest. And then I said, actually, you know, I don't want to come back here again. Out of being naive. Then I read a hadith that that talks about you shouldn't be saying that, because you could be deprived of going ever again. So I started saying sorry to Allah. But I didn't mean it in that sense. I just said it was hard to deal with the authorities there, and with the whole environment. It was a lot of hardship, and I felt sick, and it was really hard on me the first time. But when I realized, like, my understanding of Hajj, I didn't know anything. Like most people, when they first wanted to go to Hajj, I might not do much research. So you go there, and then when you realize at the end what it was all about, after you come back, then you realize that you need to prepare. So I wanted to do it again. So I went again after a couple of years or so. Then I went again the third time. Then I actually started visiting groups there, because I got to know what Hajj is about. Then I realized that the groups I've been going with, we lack the spirituality in Hajj. So it's more like a robotic action. And I saw these groups, and I said, I want to belong to one of these groups. And being raised in an association, in a community, in a Husseiniyyah, these people also encourage you. So like the Al-Ja'fariyya that I've been going to played a big role in that, because they're the things that remind you all the time about Hajj and about everything, obligatory things. And then you get encouraged, and every time you do something right, they'll encourage you to do it. So I was encouraged after explaining what happened, and I've been to other groups that were doing things spiritually better than us. So I said, I want to do something like that. I haven't seen that in Australia. It's all. So I decided to have a go. And the first year was a disaster. But we had to go. Like financially it was a disaster. Not, but I realized, like, even my own father was against me doing the Hajj as a group. He goes, you lack the understanding of the responsibility of taking these people, because you're taking a big task on. And I said, listen, Dad, I'm going to take people, but I'm going to take scholars that deal with the jurisprudential side. I will only do the services, I'll run after the Hajj. I do things, manage things to make it easier for the people, but religiously I won't involve myself. So that's how we started.
Ahsant.
Wa ant Habib.
Hajj, obviously there's a lot of challenges in taking such things. You know, as your father, Allah yarhamu, mentioned to you that the responsibility is something that's massive. So the question that arises is, what are the challenges in taking groups of people to such journeys?
To tell you the truth, it's a package full of surprises for the managers, because nothing goes to plan. Like from the moment you decide to go, you have the issue of adhering to the red tape of having an organization that's approved by the Hajj, Ministry of Hajj. So just to stay up with these standards is a task on its own. Moving the red tape out of the way, you've got organizing the schedule of the flights, and giving, like with the way I do it, is I actually try and give us, every time I want to say a Hajj is not allowed to go on their own or to go to another country before they go to Hajj, I feel like I'm putting a hurdle in front of them. So I remove that hurdle by giving them the freedom, then I cop the extra work because of managing and organizing the flights to get there. And after you get there, how you're going to pick them up from airport, where their passports go. There's a lot of organization and red tape, but it's on a plan that you can't tie it to dates, because the dates move based on how the lunar calendar of the Saudi authority. So you'll be scheduling flights and you have to deal with the Gregorian calendar, and then you realize they'll only accept you on the lunar calendar. And then you organize the hotels and they shift as well. So you end up paying days that you're not there, or you get there and then you haven't got a booking. So you go through all of that stress because you've got so many people that you're responsible for, and they don't see that side of things. And you don't want to talk about it because you scare them. So you try and absorb and stress it and sweat it out. That's just getting there. And then from there, organizing the buses, it's also a big task. Organizing even something as simple as trying to get them a hall so you can have lectures in, because the type of accommodation in Medina differs to Mecca. And then they're dealing with the people that they think that they're going on a holiday. Because see, when you go on a holiday, you choose your friends, you've got so many things in common, you know what you like and you dislike. But when you go to Hajj, you're meeting people that you haven't met sometimes before. And then you're sharing the same room with them. You don't know how they behave. And not everyone's patient. So you go through the problem of, after you organize the rooms, then you have feud between the Hajjaj in the rooms. I don't want to sit next to this guy keeps the AC on, that guy smokes even though he's not there. So you got all these things other than your real work, which is you know, the planning and the programming and what have you. So really, like, we've got 8 months of work to prepare for Hajj, and it's very stressful. So by the time we finish, like, we actually feel like we've accomplished something. And it was very, very hard. And subhanallah, after it finishes, you get that sweet taste that you've actually accomplished something, you know what I mean? And every year starts again, and every year's got different surprises.
So one of the jurisprudential aspects of the challenges, for example, obviously as the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, you've got all these different people that follow different scholars. Different scholars interpret different actions in different ways. How do you tackle this challenge on a jurisprudential level?
Well, the first thing is the scholars that we take, we actually sit with them and explain that we have people that come from different backgrounds. And other than following different scholars, you've got people that are born in Australia, you've got people that are born in India, Africa, so they've even got different traditions. You need to accommodate that and then accommodate the religious side of things. So we talk to the scholars. The first thing is not to interfere or who they follow. That's none of your business. Your job is to actually get the fatwa based on the marja that they follow. You will get these guys, some of the scholars that will actually try and advise, and we always interfere because I don't believe in enforcing or encouraging anyone to change who they follow. You're just there to tell them how to do the thing based on their marja. And we stress that on the scholars that go with us, and if they don't stick to it, the year after we won't take them. That's very important for us. To make people feel that they're comfortable with whoever they go with, if they go with us, but whoever they follow. And we actually have a booklet that was translated to English, and this booklet has the fatwas of all the different maraja regarding Hajj. So that's why we ask the Hajj as soon as he comes, who do you follow? So we know which scholars to prepare the jurisprudential side of things, and we have the phone numbers of the officers of their maraja in Hajj. So if we have something difficult, we actually call to the office or somebody from the office that we trust, and they give us the answer to these things. That's very important, but I put that burden on the scholars that are going with us, and they actually, alhamdulillah, and it's been going good in that sense.
Ahsant, Hajj.
Wow.
Hajj, maybe a tricky question to ask you. However, we will throw the curveball at you. What is the most difficult thing about Hajj?
Staying composed, staying patient. Understanding, the first thing is if you understand where you're going and why you're going, every problem becomes an opportunity. And that's really the trick that I found for myself to make myself be patient and understanding and accommodating to Hajj. First thing, knowing who they are. They are Allah's delegation. So that's how I see them. I forget that if they're my brothers, my real brothers, I forget that they're my real brothers. If they're family members, I forget all that. I know they're God's delegation, and if I need to make Him happy, I've got to look after them. So then everything they do, I see as an opportunity, not as a problem. So I will try and solve every problem. This is I found for me, even though it's the most difficult, but I found the solution to that difficulty by just being patient, understand what they're doing, who they are, and then just take advantage. It's like a treasure hunt. It's a treasure in front of you. You just take as much as you want. If you see it that way, then it's easy.
Hajj, a question in regards to that. So obviously, patience is something that's very, very hard to endure. And obviously, for example, someone like yourself that has been so many times, you've kind of grasped, so to speak, this concept a lot better than people, for example, like myself that I've only been once, for example. So what's your method of getting through to people that, for example, have lost their their mindset over there, and like how do you kind of put people back into perspective?
Well, the first thing is before they lose their mindset, we have a few lessons here over 4 weeks, and I actually invite every Hajj that comes to write their name down to go with us. I actually sit down and explain things. The first thing, I explain, is he needs or she needs to do her research about Hajj. There's a ceremony for Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha, read that. There's for Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, read that. I give them certain internet addresses to actually read upon, and then after that, when we have our meetings, then I get the sheikhs to speak on the mambar and explain things, and then we give them some of the things and situations that we've had and how we've dealt with it, and tell them to expect that. So I actually told them to expect flight changes, expect long waits in the airport, expect delays in going in the buses, expect somebody to be late and it'll affect the whole bus, expect that. And the way to deal with it is to be patient and knowing that this guy is the same as you, he's a Hajj, he's Allah's delegation, we'll talk to him in the best way possible. You're there for one task, you're there to improve yourself, and you're going to be trialed. Allah has promised us, it's going to be hard. You cannot accomplish it without hardship. So once you set them up that they're going to face this, and I'll tell them they're going to face people have problems with ACs. You'll have problem with food, like when they're eating. For example, so they'll pack up their plate and then have a bit of it and throw the rest. So I talk about any problem that happens in Hajj. The next year I'll have a note of it and I'll speak to the Hajjaj about it. So the time you actually ask them when they lose themselves there and say, remember when I told you about this? This is it. So that actually helps. And I've actually seen the effects of, I've been able to handle the Hajjaj a lot better because I'm learning and I'm passing that knowledge to the Hajjaj so they know what to expect.
Ahsant, Hajj.
Wow.
Hajj, in your experience, what is it that entices people to attend such places besides the fact of Hajj, for example, being an obligation?
Many, and not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You get people that go there just to steal. You'll get thieves that actually go to Hajj just to steal. You get people that go there to do business. You got people, for example, I know people, for example, used to come from Lebanon, bring rings and masabih and sell them. And they overlook other things that they're supposed to do and they concentrate on that. You got people that go and collect hummus. You got all walks of life that go to Hajj. So really, that's and you got people that actually have been there and have tried it and actually understand what it means, and they realize they don't want to miss out. So you got everyone goes for a different purpose. You've got other people that actually go and meet the marja''s office that they follow, and they get some information from them or some books. It's easier to actually find them in Hajj than to actually go to Iran or Iraq or Lebanon or whatever.
Yeah.
So and actually. If you understand the rewards of Hajj, it's an opportunity for you to go after you've done your obligatory one. It's an opportunity. It's like it's a job, the best paid job in the world in terms of akhirah, yani, as a person to go more than once and actually take advantage of helping the Hajjaj, helping in everything, and just being part of it. There's so much ajr that we lack the understanding of, and that's why unless you dwell into that and read about it, you wouldn't understand how fortunate we are that we're able to go.
Ahsant, Hajj. Ahsant. Hajj, what do most people fear about such journeys? Many people tend to state, I'm not ready yet, as you mentioned in the intro. What is your advice as someone who may have come across this many times?
Well, first thing, are we ready for death? That can come now. While I'm sitting here, it can come at any time. So how do you prepare for that? Hajj is one of those that you need to prepare. It's for like death. It's an obligatory thing. So if someone, which they used to say, you're not ready until you decide, like, you stay away from all sin. Why do you pray? Why do you fast? Why do you do other good things? Why don't you wait till you're better and do it? The thing is, you have to try to improve yourself and to perfect yourself. It doesn't come perfect at the first go. You have to try. Like, we've been going to Hajj for that many years, and I can pick my faults in every year I go, because it's very hard to stay composed, and it's very hard to do things the way they're supposed to be done, and to stay focused. So every time I do it, I say, inshallah, Hajj comes quickly now, because I need to fix this up. And so we're sinners. So we all the time you're sinning. So every time you get the opportunity to go to Hajj, you fix yourself. So the ones, usually, like, you find people discouraging people going to Hajj, but they don't discourage them from sin. If you want to go on a holiday, they don't discourage you no matter how much you spend. If you want to do a birthday party or a wedding that you're very extravagant in spending, no one will say no to you. But when it comes to doing something good, you get these people and say, why are you doing this? You're too young. This is the problem, that we face in the community. Even when I done the first Hajj year, a lot of people, when I went back home, they say, you're too young, why did you do it? Go and shave that beard, So the lack of understanding is what makes people say, I'll wait. And there's a lot of, like I told you at the beginning, being part of the Husseini and a mosque and what have you, these people encourage you to do good. You remove yourself from that environment, you're only going to get people that discourage you from this and encourage you to do something else.
Ahsant, Hajj. Beautifully said. Hajj, do you feel, I kind of already know the answer, do you feel a sense of responsibility in guiding people on how to perform their obligatory acts?
The responsibility weighs as much as mountains, of course, because you get it wrong, you're really, you're not stuffing up a business, you're not stuffing up a job, you're stuffing up somebody's hajj that could be the once in a lifetime. Hence, like, are trying to get as many professionals in the field to the best of my ability to remove that accountability from myself. So you get somebody that's actually an expert in that field and you give them responsibility. So in particular in these things is the jurisprudential side, the religious side. My job is to make the room better, make sure I got you a room, I get you a bus, I get you the flight, I'll run after you, make sure you don't need anything materially, because if I stuff that one up, I can get away with it.
Yeah.
The other one I can't, and hence from day one, I refuse to go without taking scholars with us, and from that, I pass that responsibility to somebody. And I also, that person that we take, or the different people that we take, we evaluate their performance every year. So if they lack, we stop bringing them and we look for somebody that has a good reputation in that field. It's like anything that you care about for this life, the other one's a lot more important. Unfortunately, a lot of people play down the other one because they don't see the reward or the punishment that quickly. So if you see it and you understand how heavy it is, you'll allow for it. So we're always open to criticism from all the Hajjaj while we're there and after we come back, and to see if we were wrong, how can we fix that mistake with the Hajj and how we can improve it. So every year there's an evaluation of what happens in the Hajj.
Ahsan Hajj.
Wow.
Hajj, can you give us a little insight into what actually takes place at Hajj? Are the actions to be performed actually complicated and physically challenging?
No, they're not complicated, they're not physically challenging to an extent. They're very easy, but sometimes you get people that have been in Hajj before, once or twice, and then come back and talk about their experiences, and usually they, blow it out of proportion to show how much they've endured and made it, and then that actually puts fear into the person listening that hasn't been there before. However, everyone that feels that phobia, when they go back and come back and they become like the others, they start talking about their heroic stories. So usually, I really believe the main problem, the main obstacle is understanding Hajj spiritually. And then you can challenge everything. The others, it's just a method, a procedure. You just tell them, here, this is what happens, this is what you have to do. But you have to have informed them before, and they've done their own research into the spiritual side of things. Otherwise, the rest is just actions. And the best way to do it is to read the Shibli and Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and they'll explain to you the difference between somebody doing it physically and somebody understanding what they're doing. So it's not hard if you are aware of the problems that you're going to encounter. And it's usually tolerance with people rather than the action itself. And just having to follow orders. But the orders are simple. If you listen, they're very clear and they're very easy. But you need more than just the procedure. You actually need to be set spiritually, mentally, to understand how to take advantage of every day that you're there. Because you're there for 3 weeks. So even if you're putting on an act, it'll wear off in a couple of days. And then you become you again. All right, let's go down, have an argile, do coffee and all that. And then you forget. And they say, some people, you find them in the musalla reading Quran. Like, they don't want to waste any minute. So you can be sidetracked. It's very important to actually choose your friends. Once you know who's going to Hajj, choose somebody that will encourage you and you encourage them, rather than somebody that will distract you and you distract them. And there's plenty of both sides.
Ahsan Hajj. Hajj, what are the obligatory acts that are required to be undertaken in chronological order, if possible?
Well, basically, first you're obliged to enter the country and leave based on the country's regulations, which is more than what you need. When it comes to the religious obligatory stuff, you have the option to go via Mecca direct from Jeddah to Mecca, or go to Medina first. We take the Medina option. Once you reach there, it's just all mustahab work, ziyarat of the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, and Hamza, the Prophet's uncle, and Baqi' and so on. They're all there for recommended actions, and obviously visiting the Prophet. We pray that every day, and so you're there.
Yeah.
But the first obligatory action is Umrah al-Tamattu. And Hajj is basically split into two parts, Umrah and then Hajj. And once the Umrah basically in small steps, you go to a miqat, which is a border, a spiritual border, so based on which country you're coming from. If you're going from Medina, you go to Masjid al-Shajara or Abiyar Ali. Over there, you make the intention to start the Umrah for the Hajj. You wear your ihram. It's mustahab to do ghusl. You wear your ihram, you do the talbiyah. Once you do the talbiyah, then you've made the pack, and then you have to adhere to all the rules. And that's very hard, because you're not allowed to scratch yourself, not allowed to look in the mirror, you're not allowed to smell perfume, you're not allowed to stop yourself from smelling something bad. So many things. And then as soon as you know you're in that mode, then everything starts to move. You start feeling itchy everywhere. So you need, that's the first, to stay away from these, to adhere to the conditions of ihram. Then you go to Mecca. Once you reach Mecca, you have to remove the ihram, and by doing that, you have to go down to the haram, do 7 times around the Kaaba, starting from Hajar al-Aswad, then pray in 2 rak'at for tawaf al-Umrah. Obviously, there's intention in every action. And then going to do the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and after you finish, you snip a bit of your hair, a bit of your beard, a bit of your nail, for example. You finished Umrah, but you're not allowed to leave Mecca until you finish the Hajj. Then so that can happen any time from the time you enter the Ashhur al-Hajj, which some people enter a month or so before, and you can enter the last minute. You know what I mean? Because you need to be in Arafah after you accomplish the A'mal al-Umrah, the deeds of Umrah, you need to go to Arafah. So as long as you have time to do the A'mal al-Umrah, and then you can, while you're there, re-intend the Ihram and head straight away to Arafah. So you can make it about 5 days, the Hajj really. But it's going to be very hard. So once you finish the A'mal al-Umrah, basically you got nothing else to do, but you're not allowed to leave Mecca until you do the Ihram again for the Hajj from Mecca, and then head towards Arafah on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. And on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, you spend Arafah from midday till Salat al-Maghrib. You finish, you head towards Muzdalifah, you stay there, and you do the wukuf in Muzdalifah from the Fajr until sunrise. After sunrise, you march towards Mina to do the stoning. You do the stoning. After you finish the stoning of the big shaitan only that day, you do the sacrifice. Once you do the sacrifice, you have to shave. It's mustahab to shave. You have to, for some maraji', other maraji' allow you just to do taqsir. Once you've done that, then you have a few days to go down to the haram to do the tawaf, the salat al-tawaf of the Hajj, the sa'i, and the tawaf and salat tawaf of Nisa. And then in between those actions, you need to spend time in Mina. Okay, so basically the 9th was Arafah, the 10th is Muzdalifah, the 10th at night you go to Mina, 11th at night you go to Mina. The 12th you do you do the first Rajam on the 10th. On the 11th you do Rajam of the 3 shayateen. On the 11th you do Rajam, on the 12th you do Rajam of the 3 shayateen. You wait till Salat al-Dhuhr, it's finished. It's not that easy, but yeah. During that time, I think the Hajj goes through a really rough cycle, and that's where you need really to prepare them, because that's very physically demanding in a short space of time, and things don't go to the way you want all the time. Buses don't show up, buses are late, there's security roadblocks going from another side, walk a lot, anything changes. Even some of the problems we've had, the flat tire. With one bus used to always break down out of the three. So things could happen, and you just have to make sure that the Hajj understands that these things could happen, and just to be forbearing and actually take advantage of that instead of that taking advantage of you.
Definitely. Ahsant, Hajj, ahsant. Hajj, now we get a bit more into the denomination aspect as Shia, because this is obviously an issue that's undertaken, whether it be stories that we've heard or situations that have happened. As a Shia attending Hajj, are there any complexities as the grand mosque is run according to another school of thought?
To be honest with you, the main problem of doing the different, by being a different sect, would be the timing. Apart from that, they actually try and organize things to make it easy for everyone. I actually have seen over the years the development of what organization can actually do to the Hajj, because there were so many times in the earlier years of us going to Hajj where we actually feared death, and we came very close to death. I've had a few instances myself, and by them organizing things in a certain way has actually made it easy for everybody. The only problem that we sometimes face in that, which is a big problem, like in terms of timing. So if you have to do a Rajam at night when you were not allowed, or if you have to do Arafah on a day, that it's not Arafah based on the lunar calendar, because different sects see the moon. We would know even between our own sect with different maraja for Eid. This guy Ayyad al-Yawm, the other guy is Eid tomorrow. And each one has to stick to the marja that they follow. Over there, they don't accommodate for everyone. They make up the decision and you have to follow. Some of our maraja allow you to follow that because you have no other option. Depending on the marja, we actually look for the fatwa. Some people at some stages, their Hajj might turn into a Umrah Mufradi. They can't do Hajj because the time is completely off. So that's one of the major problems. But actually going to the mosque, praying, doing that, you don't have any problem. There is no distinction between the different sects, as they have a uniform law for everyone in that sense. So more the timing of the obligatory deeds that can go out of whack, and that's mainly I find the problem. As long as you also, certain things you can't do, like I inform all the Hajjaj that this procedure and this procedure creates problems there. So you can't go there and say, salawat bisawt ali in the masjid. Arafat kif? First, because other people, first they've made that rule, so you tell them don't do it because you're going to get in trouble. Don't take a sajda, pray on the blot because you'll get into trouble. All these rules that we've tackled over the years, we actually talk about it, and I make sure everyone understands to create the minimum problems as possible, and it has worked. So other than that, the other stuff, the way they manage it is good. The way they manage the buses, the way they manage the haram, the way they manage the flow of going to Rajam and back is good. However, they could force you at a time that you can't do that, and that will void your Hajj. So,
Hajj, before we move on to the last question, a question that just came up actually in my mind. It's something that I heard recently, and inshallah you can clarify it. The application form, apparently they've mentioned a specific question, what denomination you are, and if you're specifically Shia. Why has this come up if it is actually the situation?
no, that's not true.
It's not true?
No.
It's not, okay.
It's not. They don't ask the denomination. They just ask if you're a Muslim. They'll ask you, but if actually, astaghfirullah. They do ask on the paper one that we used to fill in. It's not a criteria. We just write Muslim, and it's not something that they actually push you to say. And to tell you the truth, when you're there, they don't differentiate. If you're a Shia or non-Shia, then as long as you don't create any chaos, any disruption to the norm. It used to be hard for people that don't understand and they go take a turba with them. Yes, they'll face difficulty there. They'll take the turba. But once you know that becomes a problem, you can avoid that. Other than that, and the timing of stuff, that actually you don't feel that you've been picked on. To tell you the truth, you know, even here at the embassy, it's hard to deal with them, but it's uniform.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? It's uniform across the. Yeah, no, there was a rumor, I think last year or the year before, about what you're saying, but this is social media for you.
Okay. Ahsant, Hajj.
Right.
Hajj, the last question, inshallah, with regards to the visitation of the holy personalities, alayhim salam, in Mecca and Medina, are there any challenges that we may face? Like, why is this so?
Yes, there are. Like, if for example, you're not allowed, for example, in Medina, you're not allowed to touch the Prophet's shrine. All right, that could be because from a regulation side, it could be because they don't want people to crowd there. But you'll get some of the guards that are there telling you that that's kufr and bid'ah and what have you. You also, same thing happens in Baqiyah. It could be because of regulation not to allow crowdedness there and have problems. It could also be, but we do hear words that, you know, that maybe some people are reciting certain things that offend other people. In particular in Uhud, you're not allowed to stand there. So they'll tell you that, you know, what you're doing is haram, you're not allowed to visit graves. But if you are, like, you do what you can without creating a problem. If the problem comes, you just walk away and go back to where you are. You do have these. There's certain sites like the 7 mosques, you're not allowed to go to them. They've closed them down, you know what I mean? But they're recommended things. Obviously, there's a lot of reward. We try and do it in a way that doesn't create a problem. Towards the end, you're entering a country that has its own regulations, and you have to adhere to those in order to keep going there.
Hajj, do you have any last-minute words for the audience, for those thinking of going, the ones that are younger, or for example people that are waiting for the borders to open up for next year, in regards to motivational aspect, in regards to keeping their spirits high, and how obstacles may come in the way to try and deter you from going, and just kind of, you know, leading people to steam on with the intention of going?
Well, the first thing that you need to know is that if you understand what Hajj is, then no one can stand in your way. If you really understand, because the opportunity of going to Hajj, based on the narrations, something that we cannot fathom. And like I said before, if you want to know how important, if you look at the ad'iyah of Shahr Ramadan, the first dua starts straight away with Allahumma arzuqni hajja baytika al-haram fi aami hadha wa fi kulli aam. Yani asking Allah to grant you the Hajj this year and every year. Unlike what people try to tell you, you've been to Hajj, don't go again. Yes, you've been to Hajj, go again and again and again. The way I tell you to deal with this is the same way you deal with anything, any opportunity that arises in living life. You get an opportunity to buy a house that's usually on the market for $1 million, and somebody says, guess what? There's one for 100,000. If you don't have 100,000, I'm sure you'll dig it up from somewhere. You will borrow it from anyone because it's an opportunity. You can't even compare Hajj to that. Anyone that actually stops you from going, he has been just a soldier of the devil. Because he doesn't stop you from committing sin. He doesn't stop you from going on a holiday that you commit every sin possible. He doesn't stop you from doing a wedding that you have alcohol and music in. He doesn't stop you from being extravagant on a car or on an entertainment system. But when it comes to Allah, the devil plays his role, and these guys become the soldier of the devil. If you focus this year on Shahr, or even now, open Mafatih al-Jinan, on Shahr Ramadan, you sit down and read how many times the word Hajj comes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only in Shahr Ramadan has these conditions. Has no conditions. Any other month, there's a condition to accept your dua. In Shahr Ramadan, there's no conditions. Ask and you'll get. And usually if somebody likes you, he shows you what to ask. Allah has showed us. Ask for Hajj. That's the first thing, before anything else. There's, after every prayer, the dua is after every prayer in Shahr Ramadan is about Hajj. There's more than 17 daily other than Salah, like during Salah, and there's others. Abu Hamza Thamali, there's 2 times within the dua al-Sahar, dua al-Iftitah. If Allah says this is the month of mercy, and this is the month that I'll accept, and this is what you should ask, and then let a moment go to waste. Your sleep is worship, your breathing is tasbih and all that. And then he says, ask for Hajj. There's a secret there. That's what I understand. And there's something massive there, and I'll be a fool if I missed it. I can't accept. Like this year for Corona, I feel very bad that I've missed out. I feel that I've drifted, because this used to reel me in. The Hajj is a pit stop. It's like Shahr Ramadan, like Muharram. And I feel I've missed something massive. And I don't wish anyone to miss that. From my understanding of Hajj, I wish it upon everyone. Do whatever you can to go to Hajj. Figure about investments, you don't have to go with our group, Dar es Salaam. You don't have to go with our group. Go with any group. Just go. Make it to Hajj. If you can't make it to Hajj, go to Umrah. These are opportunities, lands and real estate and whatever you're leaving them for somebody that you don't know if they're going to use it to the right or wrong. Take your friends, your family with you. The money you're going to leave them, take them with you to Hajj. Take them with you to Ziyarah. Take them with you to Umrah. This is the best investment you can have in this life. And like I told you, once you read and understand, you will realize that's an opportunity that everyone, in a way, in Australia in particular, is capable of doing if they mean to. Like you pre-ordered PS5 right now, or you order whatever, you put that effort in, put more effort into going to Hajj.
Ahsant Hajj. Ahsant. So viewers, that's it for today. Inshallah, as myself has benefited from today, inshallah you have also benefited. And for those of you that are interested, you may be thinking, who is the group? Hajj Mufid runs a group called Dar es Salaam Australia, I believe. So for those of you that are interested in going to Hajj, it's something that I can definitely recommend. Like I said, when I went, alhamdulillah, I went with Hajj Mufid. And the organizational aspect, as me and the Hajj were speaking just before the show began, it's something that he initiated based on that, because he's seen a lack of organization and spirituality happening within the community, and it's something that enticed him to open up the group and begin. And that's something that we've definitely been able to see, whether it's from the food, the sleeping arrangements, the organization. There is a lot of work involved. And a lot of people may ask, for example, things like, oh, Hajj is too expensive and I can't afford it and all these things. But if you really knew the background into what's happening, you wouldn't be surprised, for example, why such things could possibly cost so much. Like, there is a lot of work involved. And may God bless Hajj Mufid and his partner, Hajj Hassan Atwe, on their effort. And I also believe your brother is also one of your colleagues, Hajj Hussein, that also goes with you, and Sheikh Muhammad, and to all the people and scholars that go with Hajj Mufid. Have I missed out someone?
Sheikh Ali.
And Sheikh Ali Mehdi also, you've obviously seen him on the show. So yeah, Dar es Salaam Australia, definitely recommend it. And inshallah, we do get the opportunity to go Hajj again. And also for you viewers and Hajj, inshallah, you can return next year back to your inshallah Hajj duties once this whole virus thing is over. Inshallah. Viewers, that's us for today. Inshallah, we'll see you next week at the usual time. For now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشتة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وعنا بفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.